Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm actually so proud of myself. Like, if we look at the last video that was posted, I think it was posted like maybe like a month ago. So like, look at me inconsistently uploading. I'm killing it. So today's video is a March wrap up, and this has actually been a video that I've wanted to film since I started my booktube channel in August of last year. And they're some of my favorite videos to watch because I am so nosy and I love to know what other people have read and are reading, because I find that March wrap ups, they have like current books, but they also have like older books. Like, I know in a month I don't just choose new books, I also choose kind of older books. I say that, no, I think I have a good spread of new and old books. Never mind, just ignore me. I am super excited for this video. Now, I wanted to film them before this month, but I just, number one, didn't have the time. And number two, I didn't think that this would be like an interesting video for you guys to watch, since I don't finish a lot of books in a month. Like, I'll read maybe 3 books in a month. It's just because life is really crazy and I have so many things going on, and I use reading to kind of escape and calm down at night because I do the majority of my reading at night. Now, I love reading in like the sun, in a park that's quiet, or like in my backyard, or just around my house. I really love that, but it's just not realistic to be able to do that right now. So the majority of my reading happens at night, and I'm not able to read like for long periods of time unless it's the weekend, but then I'm tired, so I fall asleep. Anyway, this is all to say, during the month of March, I had a break. I took a little staycation, and all I did was read, and it was so amazing. It was almost too amazing because I read so many books. I read like a record number of books. I'm like 7 or 8 books ahead of my Goodreads reading goal, which is like a low reading goal, but I'm still ahead. And 2 warnings for this video. Number 1, Miss Lulu will probably be popping in and out, and you might see her in the background in some shots and then gone in others. She's been going back and forth from my room and like the rest of the house. And the second thing is definitely grab some water. This is my favorite water bottle because I have a feeling I'm going to be talking for a long time. This is definitely going to be one of my less organized, more rambly videos because I have so much to say and I've wanted to do this video for so long. So I think that is all, and we could just get right into the video. So in the month of March, I read 5 physical books and 3 audiobooks, which was so exciting. I just got into audiobooks. Now, technically, one of the physical books, I didn't read cover to cover, but I read 3 novellas in that one book. So technically I read 7 books this month, but like one of them was 11 pages. However, on its own in Goodreads, it counts as its own book. So I mean, if we want to get technical, it was 5 books, but if we want to give Ellie a break, it was 7. So the first audiobook that I read this month was Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Now, this was a book that I saw all over Book Talk and wanted to give a try, but didn't actually want to read the physical copy because it is quite a bit outside of my genre. But I read this book. I gave it 4 stars, 3.5 stars, something like that. The proper rating will be somewhere on the screen, let's be honest. So I think I give it like 3.54 stars. It was good. I really enjoyed it. It was the first audiobook that I listened to this month, and I really liked the narrator's voice. I believe it was Amanda Dolan, so that was really good. I got it from my library. Honestly, it was very entertaining. I found that the writing style was quite casual, which I actually really enjoyed. There was just something about Victoria Aveyard's like perspective and writing that I thought was really unique. Really enjoyed that, and it was really pleasant to listen to as an audiobook. So overall, I don't have too much to say. It was a fast-paced book. I really enjoyed it. The audiobook was short, easy. I was able to listen to it when I was like making breakfast and just things like that. So I give it a thumbs up. The second book that I read in March was the second book in the Red Queen series. I believe it's called Glass Sword. And I won't tell the like synopsis of this book just because it's the second book in the series and I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But I gave this book 3 stars. I didn't like it as much as the first book. I felt that it dragged on a little bit and I lost Mare's voice as a character just a little bit. Unlike the first book, I did find myself getting a little bit irked at some of the things that were happening, or Mare's like point of view, or not even point of view, just like decisions. Or like inner monologue. 3 stars, but still really, really good. I know that Victoria Aveyard had the hardest time writing this book. I saw one of her Instagram like TikTok video clips that she said that the hardest book and her worst book that she'd ever written was Glass Sword. I didn't think it was that bad, but I don't know how it compares to the later books in the series as she improves as an author, and I don't know how it's going to contrast Realm Breaker, which is her newest book coming out, which I'm thinking I might pick up as an audiobook too because I'm really enjoying her writing style. The last audiobook that I read in the month of March was Things We Know by Heart by Jessie Kirby. Now, this book is nowhere to be seen, and I got it from my dear friend Silka. We actually did kind of like a buddy read, except she just read it to me and I got to sit and enjoy the sound of her voice. It was great. This book was absolutely amazing. I gave it 5 stars. I loved every second of it. It's a YA contemporary that is cheesy, predictable, fast-paced, and I loved every second of it. Since reading some of the other books that are going to be on this March wrap-up, I've been really into new adult fantasy / adult fantasy. That's kind of where I've been living, and I'm kind of over YA just personally from the content that's in YA. I think that anyone can read YA. You do not have to be between the specific ages in which YA is typically like written for. Like, you can enjoy YA at any point in time, but there is content that cannot be included in YA books and would be inappropriate in order to include them just due to the age of the characters and the marketed demographic in which they're trying to go for. And just for myself as a reader, there's things that I want in books now that aren't appropriate in the YA age range, so I've kind of moved more to new adult as that's kind of where I found my place. So I haven't been wanting to read YA contemporary, but this book absolutely stole my heart and I loved every single second of it, and it was super fast paced and super fun, and everything about it was predictable. Like, you knew it was going to happen, but it was just such an escape. Also, the writing in this book was gorgeous. In this book, I could see everything. I could see all of the images in my head, the characters. I knew who they were. I could hear how they were kind of talking, even though it was being like read to me. Like, I could see and hear everything, and I loved it so much. So I think I already said this, but 5 beautiful stars for this beautiful book. So the synopsis of this book is our main character, Quinn, loses her boyfriend in an unexpected tragic accident, and in a form of closure, she looks for the recipients of his organs that were donated. In doing this, she meets the person who got his liver, who got his kidney, got some other organs, and didn't really find, like, she found a bit of closure, but not enough, and was really wanting to know who got her boyfriend's heart. Obviously, due to privacy matters between donor recipients and donor families, there has to be like a consensus and a mutual wanting to meet, and that did not happen with the heart donor. So our main character, Quinn, ends up breaking a million rules and finding the recipient of her boyfriend Trent's heart in the form of a boy the same age as her. I don't know why I can't say that, like, describe this without it being awkward. Sorry. His name is Colton, and he lives just like an hour, 45-minute drive from her. So she hatches a plan that she is only going to see Colton and just be like an observer, just see who received her boyfriend's heart and then leave. But as soon as she sees him and meets him, they have like a meet cute. It's so good. And then she ends up chatting with him and forming a relationship, a friendship that develops. It's so good. It is so good. And this book had me on the edge of my seat. I was crying at one point, but it wasn't overly sad. I was like stress crying because I didn't know what happened. You don't know what happened. You think you know what's gonna happen, and then something happens, and then, oh my gosh, it was so fun and so stressful, but so fun. Silka enjoyed my stress just a little bit too much. She was cackling while I was hysterically crying, freaking out what was gonna happen, but it was honestly the best reading experience ever. It was so fun. So now onto the physical books that I read. I suppose I should start with the 1/3 books that I read, which was Happily Ever After by Kira Cass. So this is a compilation of a bunch of the selection short stories, and the short story novellas that I read in this book was The Queen, the Celeste exclusive scenes, and the bonus epilogue to the One. I don't know if you guys are gonna let me have this as 3 books, but Goodreads did. So The Queen, I think, is like, okay, it's like a short novella. It's 87 pages. You know, we're gonna give that one to me. I think that that's good. I gave 3.5 to 4 stars again. Then I read the exclusive scenes, which were Celeste's exclusive scenes. I think that was 22, 23 pages. And I gave that book 3 stars. I really enjoyed it. Fun to get into her head and kind of get her thought process, if that makes sense. So I really enjoyed that. And then the final book that I read in this one was the one bonus epilogue, and I gave this beautiful 5 stars. And again, it is the nostalgia. It's the nostalgia. It was 11 pages of exactly what I wanted. It was so cute. Like, I just thought it was so cute. And the nostalgia, like the selection, if you haven't watched any of my other videos and you don't know, the selection was actually the series that got me into reading the first time. And then I kind of like fell out of reading because nothing lived up to the selection. And it also got me into reading the second time at the beginning of the pandemic, literally a year ago. So the selection just holds a really special place in my heart. And to get this bonus epilogue of the characters and the moment that they shared was really, really cute. So the next books that I have are books that are all part of a series. Now it's the original trilogy plus a novella, and then the fourth book, or technically 5th book, is right behind me, which kind of spoils what it is. But the book series is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. So if you have read other Sarah J. Maas books, but not this one, I would say that this is her most straightforward series. It is not to be compared to Crescent City, because number one, Crescent City is her first adult fantasy, which I think Crescent City is a new adult fantasy, but that is just me. And it's not as complicated and doesn't have as many perspectives as Throne of Glass. But this book series, one thing that I really loved is that the first 3 books, and potentially this one, I don't know yet, the first 3 books all follow the same plot, if that makes sense. So there's one thing that's happening, and throughout each of the books, like a little chunk of that gets solved. That's one thing that I really, really enjoyed, because normally you get through the first book in a series and like it's completely wrapped up and you're like, oh my god, where is this going from here? And then the next book is like completely different and you're like, what the heck's happening here? But this series follows the same problem with little victories potentially throughout, and I really, really enjoyed that. I know a lot of people also criticize Feyre as a character and that she's not Bryce and or Aelin, but I really enjoyed Feyre's character because she was a different character. Obviously, you're not going to want to read the same character over and over and over again, and I really did enjoy Feyre's character. In conclusion, I rated A Court of Thorns and Roses 4.5 stars because I absolutely loved it. Now, it is more leaning towards like a 4.75 to almost 5 stars, like once I've reflected back and finished the entire series. The little Easter eggs and the meanings in this book, like the little things, I really, really loved. The next book that I read was the second book in the series, which was actually my favorite book, and that was A Court of Mist and Fury. Now, I don't think anyone is surprised that this would be my favorite book in the series because this is literally the book filled with romance. So no one's surprised. Absolutely no one's surprised. So I gave this one 5 stars. It was amazing and I loved it so much. I would also say that this book series is in the category of new adults, so be warned, it was really good. Also, everyone, okay, this is not a spoiler, but everyone's saying that chapter 55 is the best chapter of this entire book. Like, oh my gosh, wow. Well, yes, it was very good, and I'm definitely not going to complain about it. Chapter 54 was the true masterpiece. Chapter 54 was like the icing on top of the cake. This book honestly was a gift of a sequel. Like, Miss Maas, thank you. It was an absolute gift. I cannot think of a book series that I have read where the second book has been better than the first and didn't have major second book syndrome. This book blew the first, like this one is like a 6 out of 5. This one, it was really good and I loved it enough to give it a high rating, and the little details tied in by this book to this one, amazing. Just amazing. I love it. Also, this one has my favorite spine, and the detail on this spine, I love. I found 2 meanings for it. Slight spoiler, not really. Starfall stars, paint. I love this. It also is my favorite color. I think I might have already said that, but it's delightful. I love it so much. So the third book in the trilogy, aka the last book, was A Court of Wings and Ruin. Now, as you can see, my copy's a little goofed, but, you know, we still love her, and she's unique. This one was the book that I had the hardest time getting into, so I only gave it a 4 star. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't as good as the second, which was to be expected. Like, let's be honest. The second book was just all romance. Like, there wasn't really a plot to the second book. Like, there was, but, like, not really. And so now the plot is coming back into play, and the problems are trying to be solved, and things are happening. There's less romance. I don't like it as much, but that's okay. Another thing to consider is that when I was reading this book, I hurt my back so badly. So I think that also made me kind of struggle with this book because I couldn't move to like get into like different comfortable reading positions. I couldn't read where I wanted to read, so there's that as well. However, the ending of this book was perfect. I loved the last scene of this book. Honestly, loved it. I cried tears of sadness and joy and all of the things, like all of the feels. I loved it though. I really did. So a solid 4-star. Like I really, really enjoyed it. Like I don't have too much to say. Like I would love to tell you guys the description of these books, but like as someone who went through the entire series knowing so much, like the massive plot twists, I knew most of them. Like I knew too much about the series because I was like, I'm never gonna read fantasy. I'm never gonna read ACOTAR, like fae, fairies, powers, people, humans, battles. I was like, not my cup of tea. Miss Contemporary Romance in me was like, no. However, fantasy is a comfortable little home that I do really enjoy and will be visiting often. And so I just kind of like was scrolling on TikTok and was like, whatever, spoilers, it's fine. And I was curious. So like I just watched them and then I decided to read the books. So I know everything. I knew like almost everything, which was both a blessing and a curse. But one exciting thing is for A Court of Silver Flames, which is right here. I don't know anything. I didn't read the inside of the dust jacket like I didn't with Crescent City, and I'm really, really excited. There's one more thing that I have to say about this book with the next book, A Court of Frost and Starlight, the cute little novella. Now, let me tell you, I was going to read this as an audiobook because I was like, oh, I haven't heard great things. Now, granted, the entire ACOTAR series is not rated super highly. There's people, you either love it like me, or you don't, and that's okay. Everyone has their own book opinions, but everyone was kind of saying that A Court of Frost and Starlight wasn't great. Here's the thing. I ended up giving it 4 stars because I really did enjoy it. I was still in pain and agony with my back when I started it, but by the ending, I wasn't in as much pain, so that's good. The thing to remember is that this is a 200-page novella. It's not like 600 plus pages in these two, or like almost 500 pages for this one. Like there's not time to develop like a lot of things. Like it was just supposed to be like a transition between the main characters from the trilogy to the new main characters of this book, if that makes sense. I'm trying really hard not to spoil, but honestly everyone knows what happens, but I will not say. So obviously there's not going to be a ton of plot in like a 231 page book. There was something that was said in chapter 55 of A Court of Mist and Fury that I finally got, that I did enjoy. Thank you very much, Sarah J. Maas. Thank you. Now, my biggest gripe with this book was the interesting writing style in which it took. So the first 3 books in the trilogy, A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and A Court of Wings and Ruin, let's pretend those were in order, told by Feyre, and then there was like a little bit of another character, but like not really. It was like maybe 3-4 chapters in the entire trilogy, and they were all told in first person. Now, when you got to the novella, A Court of Frost and Starlight, Feyre and characters per point of view was told in first person, which I really enjoyed, but then Nesta and Cassian, who are the other 2 characters in that book, were told in third person. I found it to be quite a jarring experience reading from first person in the trilogy to reading from first person of our 2 main characters, then getting like 1 chapter of third person. Alright, this was such a fun video to film because, again, as I said in the beginning, living out all my booktube dreams. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I wish I had all of my books here because I only have the entire ACOTAR series and my little novella, or 3 books. Because the other ones were audiobooks or Things We Know by Heart, which was an audiobook, isn't here yet. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, I'm here on an irregular basis, inconsistent basis, but not the 5 months that I was last time, and I've proven that with this video right here. This was an amazing reading month for me. I don't think that I will ever have a good reading month like this again, because I don't think I'm going to have the time, the motivation, or the money to read all of these books and then purchase them. So I mean, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye guys.